समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Okay, the 22nd verse we start today. Up from here onwards, the glories of the Lord. He has started listing his glories. So he says, Vedanam Samavedosme Devanamasmi Vasavaha Indriyanam Manaschasme Bhutanamasmi Chetana. He says, among the Vedas, I am the Samaveda. I am Vasa among the gods. Among the senses, I am the mind, and I am the intelligence among the living beings. Now, these are all his vibhutis. You can see the Lord's expression through these. Now, he says, what? Among the Vedas, I am Samved. Now, in the you see in the Chandogya Upanishad also, this is Samveda is glorified. Its importance is given a lot, as Gurudev has written also. And the Samaveda is a musically oriented Veda. Very interesting that a whole lot of the summons are in music, composed in music in different kinds of tunes. It's a very interesting thing. You will notice that the Samaveda, it is sung and it is beautifully sung. It has classical music to it, it has classical tunes to it, and you can it sounds very beautiful when it is sung. Now there are rhythms, melodies, complicated tunes, as Gurudev said, that there are all variety of music in Samaveda. But he calls it Samaveda. Why does he say is that the essence, Samaveda is not just music. uh, Almost 80% of the essence of Rigveda is composed in Samaveda. So it is Rigveda's knowledge composed in music, and that is why he says that he is a Samaveda. And this is something interesting, that 4 tunes from the Samaveda have been taken into Quran, and they sing the Quran verses in these 4 tunes taken from the Samaveda. Now, here he says, of the Devas, I am Vasava. Now, Vasava actually is the name of Indra. It is another name for Indra. Indra is the king of the Devatas. Okay, that we all know. Acha. But the actual meaning, what is the actual meaning of Indra? Indra, देखो इंद्र जो है, the word indriya has come from Indra. Indra sometimes is interpreted as the mind. Mind is the ruler of the indriyas. ठीक है ना? तो उसको भी इंद्र कहते हैं. So the ruler of the indriyas is Indra. Now you will notice that a lot of names, अपने Indian names, men name end in Indra. See, your Prime Minister, Narendra, Dhirendra, Bhupendra, Nripendra, or Madhavendra. There so many, so many. So Indra, when it comes at the end, it means the king of, or the most powerful. That is what it means. So Narendra, as the Prime Minister's name, means the most powerful among men. The ruler of men is Narendra. How befitting is the name. So, like that, Bhupendra, Bhup is Prithvi. So, Bhupendra will mean the ruler of Prithvi. Essay. So, understand that here when he says that of the Devatas, I am Vasava, that means Devatas are generally also interpreted. One meaning of Deva or Devatas are your Indriyas. Hmm? And Indriyon ka jo adhipati hai, that is the mind. Because understand one thing, without the mind, no Indriya can work. If the mind is not there, even if your eyes are open and your mind is thinking of something else, somebody passes in front of you, you do not see that person. Hota hai ya nahi? Hmm. And that person says, no, but I just came in front of you. But your mind was elsewhere, so you have not seen the person. Similarly, ears. If your mind is elsewhere, somebody may have said something, you have not heard it. The sound waves have hit the tympanium in the ear. The sound has come to your ear, but you have not listened to it. The listening is done by the mind. It is empowered by the mind. ठीक है ना? आपने ये देखा है कि somebody who's in a hurry and who's always thinking of his office work and he's eating his food also, उसको फिर बाद में आप पूछिए कि तुमने क्या खाया? That person says, oh, I don't know. I just had my lunch. I said, but what did you eat? The person doesn't know because his mind was elsewhere. He's just eaten his food. So the mind being the adhipati or the ruler of the Indriyas is Indra. अच्छा, इसने आपने स्टोरी सुनी होंगी कि जब when someone has done a lot of tapasya, तो इंद्र भगवान का आसन डोला और इंद्र भगवान felt insecure, and he sent a disturbance to seduce that man, and so that that man may not be able to do his tapasya. You've heard those stories, na? Mythological stories. They all mean this only, that when you are rising higher in spirituality, when you start getting command over your mind, if you get command over your mind, you get command over your senses. You can control your senses if you can control your mind. If the mind says you are not to eat the rasagulla, your hand will not go to eat the rasagulla and your mouth will not open to eat the rasagulla. Because your mind has said no, it is bad for you. Okay? So here what is it? Indra, what does he do when he feels that his power is being snatched away by somebody else, the tapasvi? So he will send temptations. He will send tempting offers to him in the sense of either sleep, laziness, wine, women, wealth. These are the kind of temptations that Indra sends. That means the mind falls a prey to these kind of temptations and he falls from his sadhana. But here, so that is why the importance of the mind, the ruler of the Indriyas, that is Indra. So here, what he says? He says that he say, even higher people in spirituality, they fall because of their mind, because the temptations of the mind. ठीक है ना? वो एक है ना कि there was a man who was going to heaven and there was a rope ladder hanging on which that man was climbing to heaven. So the man standing at the bottom of the ladder gave him a chalk and said that you please keep, every time you remember something wrong that you have done, put a mark on the rope ladder of the. So he said, all right. So he was going up and there were other ladders hanging, but nobody was going up and nobody was coming down. Then he saw a priest coming down. So he said to him that, oh, where are you going? Are you going to receive some great personage down? He said, no, no, I'm going to get some more chalk. So the thing was that the priest had gone up, but he had done so many wrong things that his chalk finished and he was going down to get some more chalk for himself. Now, this is just a joke. It only means that even people who think that they are spiritually high or they are climbing the ladder of spiritual strength, even they fall, hmm, with their indriyas. So here he says that I am Vasava. Vasava means Indra, hmm, amongst the, uh, he says, देखो, among, I am Vasava among the gods. Among the gods here means even the denizens of heaven. Even gods are also Deva are also interpreted as Indriyas, as I have told you the interpretation, that the mind governs the Indriyas, and therefore Indra. Okay. Now, uh, but another meaning over here is that the self is as Indra among the gods. That means the pure consciousness. Unless that empowers the Indriyas will not work. The mind will not function if pure consciousness does not empower it. So the Lord is speaking that I, as the mind, empowers the senses, and without me, the senses or the mind cannot function. Okay. Now here he says, of the sense organs, I am the mind. है ना? देखो ये क्या कहते हैं? Among the senses, I am the mind. It's the same interpretation that I've given you just now. That without the mind, the senses are not able to operate. Hmm? They cannot. They unless and until the mind, the king of the sense organs, mind is the king, the ruler, the adhipati of the senses. So unless the mind is there, it will not work. Though in Sanskrit, Indra can also mean the king of the sense organs. That Indra, Indriyon ka Raja, Indra. Okay. Hmm. Now over here, he's another thing. What does he say? Uh, I am the intelligence among the living beings. Now, among the living beings, you see, he is Chetas, Chetana. Otherwise, what are we? We are lumps of flesh and clay. Isn't that so? There is water, there is flesh, there is bones, and there is all kind of filth inside us. Flesh, bones, and filth. Isn't it? That is what we are composed of, which we call me, I. But that is not you. He says that I am the Chetana in all beings. That means I empower the intelligence of a person. I empower the entire body, entire being of the person. So the word Chetana, Chaitanya, means pure consciousness. Pure consciousness that uh, controls, the pure consciousness that is the power behind everything. It is just a repetition. So I am the mysterious power called intelligence, जिसको आप intelligence कहते हैं. The Lord says I am that power. रुद्राणां शङ्करश्चास्मि वित्तेषु यक्षरक्षसां वसूनां पावकश्चास्मि मेरुशिखरिणामहम्. It says, and among the Rudras, I am Shankara. Among the Yakshas and Rakshasas, the Lord of Wealth. Who is that? Kuber. Among the Vasus, I am Pavaka. And among the mountains, I am Meru. अच्छा अभी इसमें क्या क्या है ये देखो. He says, among the Rudras, I am Shankara. Okay, now Rudras are the destructive forces in the world which can destroy. That is why the plural. Otherwise, Shivji as the destructive force, one destructive force, the ruler of all destructive forces, he is called Rudra. And he is called Shiva when he is acting auspicious, and he is called Rudra, which is his destructive power. Please understand that Shiva has both. He has the auspiciousness, the creativeness, as well as the destructiveness. There are two powers. All destruction in nature, in the world, is constructive. Now, take anything at all. And if you go to vegetation, there also. If you go to animals, there also is a. See, one stage has to be destroyed for another stage to come. A girl who is a small baby becomes a little girl, then she becomes an adolescent. When she becomes an adolescent, the little girl is no more. When she becomes a young woman, the adolescent girl is no more. When the young woman becomes a mother, the young girl is gone, isn't it? And when the mother becomes a grandmother, then the mother is status is gone. She's a grandmother. So every stage brings on a new stage after destroying the previous stage. Similarly, in vegetation also, it is a constructive destruction. The seed bursts and destroys itself to become a sapling. The sapling destroys itself to become a tree. And in the tree, when the bud comes, the bud destroys itself to become a flower. The flower leaves all its petals to become the fruit. And again, the fruit is destroyed to become the seed, isn't it? Unless the fruit is destroyed, the seed cannot emerge. So it is constructive destruction in nature. And here he says that of the Rudras, I am Shankara. So there is not just one destructive power, there are many destructive forces in nature. Fire destroys, water destroys, wind can destroy, right? Even when you bury somebody in the earth destroys, right? So please understand that there are many Rudras. Rudras only means destructive forces. Now, Rudras, I am Shankara. Shankara is the most powerful. He is the governor of all destruction. He is the cause of all destruction in the world. Now, see, God, it is only God that expresses as creator, he expresses as sustainer, and he also expresses himself as destroyer. The same is the force. Now, outside, we have just discussed how destruction takes place. Inside is the same story. Unless you destroy old thoughts and old ways of thinking, you cannot generate new ways of thinking. New ways of behavior, new ways of thinking can only come when you drop your old wicked self. Only then can you turn into a new, vibrant, nobler personality. If you do not destroy the old wicked ways, you can never, never go to higher realms of behavior or thinking patterns. So here it is that all these Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh is inside you also. It is outside you also. So here now, Gurudev has written in his commentary that never, never forget that the whole Gita, and especially this portion, is being addressed to Arjuna. Krishna is addressing Arjuna. Arjuna was a man of his times, like you and I are men of the 20th century or the 21st century now. You know, so we are conditioned by our time. We like it or we don't like it, but we are products of our age. So, whatever are the thoughts and ideas prevalent in our age, whatever are the patterns of behavior in our age, we imbibe those, we inherit those, and we behave accordingly. So Arjuna being a product of the later Vedic age, therefore Krishna is making references in his own language, and that is why he says Rudra, he says Vasava, he says Vasu, he says Yaksha and all that. Now all these are names from the Vedas. So Arjun was educated in the Vedas. That is why the teacher here, which is Krishna, is using the language of the Vedas alone to educate him, because Arjun was familiar with this language only. Hmm? Now, it destructive forces, as I told you, is a group of destructive forces which function together, which can function alone also, and they are also listed in the Vedas. Hmm? Now, see, with this kind of interpretation of Rudras are the destructive forces. देखिए, Gurudev has very strongly in his commentary written about how the missionaries who he says invaded India, and you cannot implant another culture if the culture of the land, the original culture of the land, is very powerful. So their one time agenda was that you first destroy the culture in India, and only then can you plant a new culture. And that they did consistently, consistently. Even I, as a student, I'm talking personal, but I'm really telling you that the missionary Britishers in India, even I have experienced this thing, that your food is inferior, your dresses are inferior, your ways of thinking and behaving are inferior, your philosophy is inferior, your religion is mindless, because they were not able to go to the depth of what the rishis were talking. It was a very surface religion that they understood, and therefore they criticized this nicely, and so that they could ultimately put on their religion onto us, their religion, their culture. ओके, सो ये तो हो गया कॉन्सेप्ट रुद्र का. नाउ देन, आई एम द ट्रेजरर ऑफ वेल्थ अमंग द yakshas and rakshasas. Ab Gurudev here calls it the chancellor of the exchequer, because this is the British government treasurer type of a thing. But all treasurers sit on wealth. ठीक है ना? Hinduism worships wealth in Lakshmi, and yet, but Lakshmi, if you see the picture of Lakshmi, she is always made with coins, golden coins dropping out of her hand. है ना? That means she is giving. She is in the posture of giving. That is Lakshmi. But Kuber is made very ugly. He is short, he is fat, he has a big belly with because of overeating, and he has 8 teeth protruding and bulging eyes. You may have seen a statue in front of the Reserve Bank of India. Kuber की statue बनी हुई है वहां पर at the entrance. You see it. It is very, very ugly. So, hoarders of wealth, when you are hoarding wealth only for selfish purposes, only for your use, nobody else you want to share with, that is an ugly act. And that is the act of Kuber. But look at Lakshmi, how divine she is made, how beautiful she is made, standing on a lotus. Huh? And she is giving away, she is loaded with jewelry. Yes, so wealth has to be used for yourself, not that you just earn and give away everything. No, no, that is not Hinduism. It says you use it first yourself. That is why she wears all kind of ornaments. Yet she is got her open hand, and coins are pouring from that hand. That means she is sharing her wealth. Now, see over here. So he says that he is made very ugly. Kuber is made very ugly because he is the treasurer. He hoards wealth. He sits on wealth. So that is Kuber. Okay. Then he says the next one. He says Kuber ho gaya. Then he says among the Vasus, I am Pavaka. So among the Vasus, uh, hmm, Vasus, I am Pavaka. Now, Vasus were also Vedic deities governing the seasons. Governing the seasons. ऐसा कहते हैं कि दे आर 8 Vasus. अब आप कहेंगे कि अच्छा, सीजन्स तो जो हैं वो 8 नहीं होते हैं. सीजन्स तो आप वैसे ब्रॉडली यू हैव 4. दैट इज स्प्रिंग, summer, autumn, winter. Spring, summer, autumn, winter. These are the 4. But the Vasus are 8. So 8 is the mid seasons. 4 plus 4. जो उसमें बीच-बीच में आते हैं ना, मिड सीज़न जिसको आप कहते हैं, व्हेन यू फील कोल्ड इन द शेड एंड यू फील हॉट इन द सन, है या नहीं? वो दैट इज़ कॉल्ड अ मिड सीज़न। रेन्स और शरद के बीच में एक सीज़न आता है। कभी-कभार बारिश हो रही है, कभी-कभार ठंडा हो रहा है, कभी-कभार कुछ हो रहा है। तो यू नो व्हेन द सीज़न्स चेंज, दैट इज़ द मिड सीज़न। सो फॉर मिड सीज़न्स एंड फॉर मेन सीज़न मेक इट 8. तो वो वसुस आर कॉल्ड 8 सीज़न्स। सम पीपल से ओनली 6 ऋतुएँ हैं। तो वो 6 ऋतु प्लस 2 मीन्स, एंड ही सेज आई एम द पावका इन द अमंगस्ट द वसुस. Pavaka means the capacity to enjoy the season or to get sorrow from the season too. Without the fire, they say there's a fire in the mouth of the season. Now, this is just a picture. The season is not a human being जिसके के मुंह में आग रखी हुई है. When they say that Pavaka is the mouth of the season, means that it is because Pavak is the fire. Fire always representative of Chaitanya or the Lord or the pure consciousness. So it is only because of the self in you, the instrument of experiencing enjoyment or sorrow, that it is because of that that you are able to enjoy the seasons. Otherwise you cannot even feel the seasons without the Chaitanya. Okay, and the next one he says over here is that of all the peaks I am Meru. मेरू पर्वत. अच्छा, अभी मेरू पर्वत क्या है? सी मेरू पर्वत इज अ थिंग दैट मेरू वाज, it's a mythical mountain, and you know, Hindu geography uh, says that it is a mountain which is miles high to the north of India, and from there flows the river Ganga in different directions. This is what is given. Spiritually interpreted, it is this, that the height of spirituality is this mountain, Meru, hmm, and it is situated in Jambu Dweepa. Jambu Dweepa is the Indian continent, or you can say South Asia. South Asia. Dweep means island. ठीक है ना? पर ये जम्बू द्वीप है. पहले India was supposed to be an island, even according to geography, and then the land mass moved up and banged into the mass of North Asia, and in that collision that took place, the Himalayas rose up from the sea. Even geography tells you that the Himalayas have risen up from the sea when the Jambu Dweep moved up and clashed with the Upper Asia. That is why in the Himalayas you always see rounded stones in the hills. A rounded pebble is only found in water. That is why the people, the geographical pundits say that the Himalayas have risen from the sea. And even in old texts, you know, you will hear this कि मेरे उत्तर समुद्र कहता है, the sea that is between Lanka and India, वो रामचंद्र जी को जब विनती करता है रामचरितमानस में, he says मेरे उत्तर तट के वासी. उत्तर तट के वासी कौन हुए भाई? Unless there is a sea in the north. And this is the South Sea that is praying to Ramchandraji that my Uttar Tat ke Vasi are like this, like this. Now, all these rounded stone, rounded boulders, which are polished absolutely round, they cannot be found in mountains. Mountains में rugged rocks होते हैं. You know, steep, rugged, pointed rocks. But if these are these rounded pebbles, they have obviously come from water. Stone, when water goes on flowing over stones, they get polished into a round shape. So that is why. Now here he says कि मेरू. अच्छा, मेरू जो पर्वत है उस पे से it's a mystical concept. मेरू पर्वत. It can also mean spiritual height And the Ganga flowing from there means knowledge flowing from the intellect and mind of a teacher, spreading to all kinds of students, spreading in all kind of directions wherever the teacher travels. The knowledge spreads. So, like Ganga water, Ganga is a representative of knowledge only. Hmm? And so it says that knowledge spreading all over from the seat of Meru. और इसीलिए जब देखो ये जम्बू द्वीप कहते थे ना इसको भारत खंडे, खंड is a part, it's a portion. So the Indian subcontinent was known as an island. It was also known as a khand. Khand means a part of Asia. Okay. So when you take a sankalpa, वो पंडित लोग बोलते हैं ना, जम्बू द्वीपे भरत खंडे, दे आपको संकल्प दिलाते हैं कि from sitting in this place you are taking the sankalpa. उसमें if you notice the pandit saying जम्बू द्वीपे भरत खंडे. So anyway, the mystical thing I have told you already, that it is the creative spiritual power in a person. When you are high spiritually, the knowledge flows from you. Okay, next verse. पुरोधसां च मुख्यं मां विद्वे पार्थ बृहस्पतिं सेनानीनामहं स्कन्दः सरसामस्मि सागरः. And among the household priests, O Partha, know me, the chief Brihaspati. Among generals, I am Skanda, and among the lakes, I am the ocean. Okay. Now, among the household priests, O Partha, know me as Brihaspati. देखिए, Brihaspati is the guru of the devatas. They say, but he is a priest, he is a purohit. He is not a sannyasi. This is here Brihaspati does not mean sannyasi. It is like you say घर का पंडित जी, घर का पुरोहित. That is, but since he is the purohit of the devatas, he says, I am Brihaspati, chief among the purohits. And all purohits pray to Brihaspati before they start their work. So among the hosts of heaven, he is considered as the spiritual teacher of the devatas. The spiritual guru of the devatas is Brihaspati. Now he says that among the he says among the wielders of spear, I am among the generals, I am Skand. Skand is the elder son of Shiva. That is Kartikeya. He is also known as Kartikeya. Kartikeya, why is he known as the best general? Because he is the one who destroyed all the big rakshasas that used to जो विघ्न डालते थे ना पूजा में, विघ्न डालते थे हवन में. They posed hurdles. They came as hurdles in the worship of worship that the saints used to do. So Skand was the only one who was capable of killing all the rakshasas, and he's a very big general. So he says that I am in this Skanda. In South India, he's also called Muruga. Muruga, Skanda, Kartikeya, they are all his names. Okay, now this is next he says, of waters I am the ocean. Acha. Of lakes. यहाँ पे if you clearly interpret according to the word, sarasa masme sagara. Saras. Saras means जिसमें रस हो. Literal translation is that जिसमें रस हो. Ras cannot be without water. No juice can be created without water. There has to be a water content, only then it becomes a juice, right? Or taral padarth, taral. Now here he says sarasa masmi sagaraha. That means amongst water bodies, I am the sagar. Why does he say that? Because without the ocean, there cannot be any water body. सोचिए, without sagar, there cannot be any water body. All the water bodies, see, the water rises from the ocean only. When the sun is hot, the water rises from the ocean, it sucks up the water, and then it forms clouds, then it becomes rain, and when the rain falls on the mountains, it becomes snow. Then the sun melts the snow and it becomes rivers, streams, lakes, ponds. Whatever water body you have is the resultant from the ocean. Its source is the ocean. ठीक है ना? So see, he is listing to you all the main things which are there in this universe, and he says they are all me. But for the ocean, no water body can exist, and therefore he says, Sarsa masme sagarah. I am the sagar, and I am the phenomena of the ocean which creates all water bodies. Okay. Now then, here it is. Maharshinam bhraguraham giramas girasmekamaksharam yajnanam japayajñosme stavaranam himalayah. Okay. He says, among the great rishis, I am Bhrigu. Among words, I am the one syllable Om. Among sacrifices, I am the sacrifice of the silent repetition, that is Japa Yajna. Among immovable things, I am the Himalayas. Dekho. He says, among the great rishis, I am Bhrigu. Okay, Bhrigu जो थे, हाँ, भृगु जी का फेमस क्या है कि he was sent to the heavens. I mean, this is a story, huh? He was sent to the heavens to find out who amongst the three, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, is the most prominent or is the one that has the least ego. So he tested the egos of all three. How he tested Vishnu? Vishnu was sleeping. हाँ वो उसमें उनका है ना शेषशायी, तो he is sleeping on the snake of the ego. And then भृगु जी ने उनको जगाया तो वो जगे नहीं. तो भृगु जी, it is said that he kicked him in the chest. Bhrigu kicked Vishnuji on his chest, and then Vishnu woke up. And yet he did not have any ego and he did not feel bad that Bhrigu, उन्होंने उठ के उनको प्रणाम किया. Imagine. So he says that amongst the rishis, I am Bhrigu. That means he is the one teacher who brought down the knowledge of from all the three, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. And which one does not have? And these people, he is representative of the teacher, bringing the ego of the student down. Bhrigu always represents that teacher who reprimands students to bring their ego down so that they progress in life. Okay. Now, of the words, I am the one syllabled Om. Okay. देखिए, sound is worshipped in Hinduism. Sound. Even in Christianity, you say the holy word. ठीक है, all religions are based on sound. Religion cannot be taught, spirituality cannot be expressed without sound. So bhasha or sound is the most important thing, and in this, words are representative of various feelings, emotions and thoughts and actions. Nothing can be expressed without words, and word is sound. So sound has an effect. Now he says sound symbols indicate experiences to communicate, and the biggest communication that the rishis created was the symbol Om, because Om covers all the three states of human consciousness and human understanding. That is A, O, M. A represents the waking, U represents the dreamer state, and M represents the deep sleep state when there is a humming, soft sound that merges into silence. When the sound merges into silence between every Om, that is called the abode of the pure consciousness. Pure consciousness has nothing in it. Gurudev used to give the example of a mirror, that the mirror has nothing, it is clean mirror, clear mirror, it has no image. It reflects all images truthfully, but it keeps no image with itself, and nothing can touch the mirror. All images are only reflected in the mirror truthfully. He is immaculate, perfect, pure. So, this pure consciousness is like that. It energizes everything, it reflects on everything, it oversees everything, yet is not touched by anything and does not keep anything in it. So, this is Om Sakshat. Now, the next is of the sacrifices, I am Japa. There are many people who have interpreted this into various different ways. But the most beautiful interpretation is that when you constantly repeat a certain mantra or a certain name of the Lord as japa, everybody does japa. Christians do japa, Muslims do japa, Buddhists japa, Jainis japa, Hindus japa, Sikhs do japa. So there is nobody who does not understand the importance of japa. Jap, he says that amongst all the practices that spiritual people do, that religious people do, all the sadhanas they undertake, all the spiritual disciplines that are undertaken by seekers, I am japa yagna, because that is the most effective thing. He says, I reside in japa, because japa kya hota hai? The name of the Lord. The name of the Lord is Japa, right? When you constantly are remembering Him by His name. So He says that I am the Japa Yagna. I am the Japa Yagna. Then He says, of things motionless, I am the Himalayas. Of things motionless, I am the Himalayas. Kya hai Himalayas? This is a sacred mountain. Why does the Lord name only Himalayas that I am there? There are so many mountains in the world, isn't it? And all mountains have similar things. They all have rivers and streams and animals and birds, and they have medicinal vegetation, and they have all kinds of beautiful things, huh? Very lovely flowers, very lovely, all that everywhere there is. But unlike everywhere else in the world, one thing that the Himalayas alone have is that so many Mahatmas have found this place as the proper place to do their sadhana, to do their tapasya. And so many Mahatmas have lived in the Himalayas, in the caves of the Himalayas, under trees in Himalayas, near river banks in the Himalayas, that this Parvat is considered the most sacred. The vibes over there, if you go to the Himalayas, you yourself will feel the peace, the sanctimonious hill atmosphere will infiltrate into you, bringing peace, quietude into your mind. You know, so that is why he says that amongst that all the hills, amongst all the mountains, I am the Himalayas. Not only that it is the tallest mountain, but the one feature which no other mountain has, another feature is this, that from the beginninglessness of time, Mahatmas have lived there and meditated there and done their sadhana there. So the whole place is sanctified. In India, Himachal Pradesh, which is near the Himalayas, or in which the Himalayas hold, is called Dev Bhumi. It is not called Deva Bhumi for nothing. It is a very sacred place. That is why Deva Bhumi. And Om jo syllable hai, which he says he is, in the Mandukya Karika, a lot of detailed explanation of Pranav is given. The Akshar Om is also called Pranav. So pages after pages, verses after verses are on Om in the Mandukya Upanishad, which you can read, and he calls it that this is me, myself. So we stop here. Next time we will do verse 26. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari